Hey everyone, I'm back in the Tomb of the Serpent Kings, this time looking at the upper tomb, which is behind the secret passage in the false tomb as we dive deeper into this ancient dungeon. Now, what I'm trying to do with this is look at this OSR module, this old school style dungeon, and convert or look through each room and what I might need to run it in ICRPG. But as a point of clarity, I had a really good question last week after last video about timers and why I wasn't talking about them. Timers I feel are more session specific, so I'm not really going to plan out timers until I know what the session is going to be. And I plan to address that in an upcoming video after I've done the conversion, how I would use this in a session. But let's get started with room 9, which is right behind that secret passage of the false tomb. The first thing we've got is it's just a long corridor, 6 huge statues. One of the statues is twisted slightly out of alignment with the wall, and so there is a secret passage here. And so I guess the question is again, this kind of detail is how would I respond to someone who's looking for it or not looking for it? Any type of like secret passage that I have, it would just basically be a wisdom check. I mean, as long as someone makes a wisdom check against the target, then I would say, hey, you find a secret passage. Regardless of whether or not they fail, I would probably give them some kind of detail. I guess not succeed or fail. It's more of a let's roll the die to see how much information you're able to gather through your whiz check. And so if you pass the target, you find the door. If you are below the target, you get some details, but they're not as useful. And then behind here, this room was once a secret guard room temple set. Now it's empty. The furniture has rotted to fragments. On the wall, 2 hooked are still usable, along with a silver icon of worth 5. Alright, so this would just be another room where I would roll for... It feels like it's not really a lot, so I would roll for shabby. So we do some kind of treat. And that's pretty much it. I would just provide the shabby loot. Again, we're going to grab this banana for range, and I think we're going to keep it at the same scale. And so this would essentially be, you know, a move to get into that room once you find the secret passage. So we'll just drop that banana there for range reference. Tomb Atrium. Hallway opens up into a large octagonal chamber. That's this one right here. So we've now entered room 9. We've now entered kind of this hub of the dungeon. Glaring statement statues, some carrying weapons, other carrying implements of torture. So there's doors to rooms 12 through 16, but can be levered without much difficulty. Okay, so I'm not going to, because it's like they specifically said without much difficulty, I'm not even going to worry about a check or a heart of effort, because that just slows things down. Anytime I introduce effort or a heart of effort or a challenge, then I'm slowing things down. So if they're saying leveraged, it's descriptive rather than mechanical for how I want them to enter that room. Then room 15 has an unlocked room door. Room 18 has a stone door but has much more ornately carved than others. So let's see. So again, but it's much more ornately carved than the others. There was once a pit in the center room with water trickling down. It smells like licorice. Okay, so lots of just descriptive stuff. And even the one room that I would consider making a heart of effort would be 18. But even then, I would only do it if there was some kind of threat that came about. That came about because they couldn't enter the next space. Like if it was just for kicks and giggles, I wouldn't add it. But if I knew something was coming up in this room that they might want to rush deeper into the dungeon, I would make maybe 18 a heart of effort. And so I'll note that real quick. And then we've got inside the pool are 2 mummy claws. These rotting hands will jump out to attack anyone who comes within 5 feet of the pit. And then we've got some mechanics for drinking the water or actually interacting with the water. Okay, so let's talk about the mummy claws for a minute. There's actually, I forgot in the last session, there's actually some monster stat blocks in the game. And so we've got mummy fragments as crawling claws, decayed black arms. See, these are all great narrative pieces, but not actually what I might need in the running it. So they flop, climb your body, and try to strangle you. So if I were to do anything, it would be they're just one hit, hard to hit because they're so small, they're flopping around. Let's just, if you hit it once, it's good, but it's just going to be hard to hit. And then they deal, if we look back in here in the description, claw is, okay, so we've got basically 2 attacks. So it's 1 action. And then we'll just say claw is basic effort. Basic, and then strangle is weapon. And that's essentially all I really need to do. 1 heart, hard to hit, 1 action, claw basic. And then they can obviously move around as they flop and things like that. Okay, and then we've got the drinking water. Drinking the water or rubbing it inflicts mummy rot, but touching it does not. If the party kills or disables both and attempts to dredge a search pool, it contains a very angry and completely insane mummy's head. I'm not going to worry about any effect. That's narrative. Heavy gold chain worth 35. So I would have them roll on ancient. Ancient. Let's see. I'd probably make this a D4. A D4 to find and this is where we can get our D4 table, just kind of see what they get. So if they get a 1, it's mummy head. Two is an ancient loot roll. Then we've got 3 is, let's say, a magic loot roll. And then we've got 4 is, we'll do bizarre. Maybe. It kind of is a curse, so maybe I'll do a curse loot instead of bizarre. Curse loot. And then mummy rot. I don't really know what mummy rot is. So what I'm going to do is, so we'll just do mummy rot. We'll just make them so con save, and then if they fail, we'll have them take, we'll just have them take weapon for D4 rounds. Maybe they drink the water in the next couple rounds, they feel terrible, they get worse and worse until they finally drop, but it's not enough to actually kill them. It's just might be really inconvenient to have a player drop in the middle of something and then they gotta go heal them. Again, this is important if there's a timer. If there's not a timer or if there's not a threat, then just having somebody drop for no good reason other than, oh, it's really inconvenient, you just dropped and we're using some of your abilities. But with the ability of just don't die on me, man, a quick recovery roll, a healing action, like having somebody drop like this is inconvenient more than adding to the flavor of the story. So I would definitely pay attention to if this needs this would need a timer. Okay, we got a bunch of other rooms up here surrounding the Atrium. Got Tomb of Zizzer the Green. The passage into this tomb contains a pressure plate that triggers a lightning bolt spell aimed straight down the hallway. It deals 46, save for half, and only activates once. The selected is worse. It's embedded in the wall. Okay, so we've got to deal with a trap. So I guess once they get once they move halfway down that tunnel, we can just say, let me move that, make that a little smaller. lightning spell, and then from like, I'm just going to use it as is, and so I'll look that up in just a second, and we'll just have everybody save with Def or Dex to half damage. Got a lightning trap right in there. And then we move on to room 13. Tomb of Sparrow Moontar. The passage has collapsed. The blocks of the ceilings caved in. The pieces will heal Sparrow Moontar. A snake man's skeleton, lurching and lumping. He is not very subtle and trying to strike the moment he can see the head of a living creature. His final trinkets are worth 10 GP. Okay, so we've technically got a rebel, so we're going to have a Heart of Effort to clear rubble. Here. And then we've got our Tomb of Sparrow Moontar. And what we're going to just do is we're going to use the same stats for the skeleton down here, but now we're going to just do snake skeleton. He's still got 1 heart, effort. I'm going to say he has +3 to all his rolls and attacks with weapon to a plus, let's see, plus all stats. And then we'll give him +2 weapon. Well, you know what? I don't like that. So I'm just going to do +2 all rolls. That way I don't have to differentiate between everything. Attack with weapon. Now we have Tomb of Franbinzar. This room is more primitive than other. It contains 1 stone coffin with the badly mummified remains of Franbinzar. This mummification did not go well. He counts as a black pudding and will lurch to anyone who opens the coffin. His graves are clay copies, but he has 2 gold coins worth of rings. If killed, he will regenerate. Okay, so now we're talking about oozes. So the one thing that I'll say is we're just going to do a treat of ancient loot roll here. And then we'll look down here for the black pudding. Here we go. Tomb of Franbinzar as a black pudding. Takes no damage from bludgeoning weapon. The black pudding can target any number of PCs adjacent. Make a normal attack. If it corners a PC, it begins to absorb them. Dealing 3d6 damage per round. Metal or wooden weapons striking it have a 10% chance to dissolve. Okay, so I guess what we can do here is it does have hearts, so I know we can just drop this in and say this is maybe 2 hearts. So we got 2 heart monster and deals weapon. Okay, and then takes no damage from bludgeoning. Attack all, we can say attacks all near. Let's do ultimate for that. Dex save. Just to say that if it tries to do, it will deal ultimate unless you do a dex save. And then finally, destroys loot on 10% of 20 would roughly be about 2. So I'm going to say this destroys loot on an 18, 19, or 20. And we'll call that good. And then we've got our priest room. This room is used by priests of the upper tomb. It contains 3 beds, some rotten shelves, and silver and emerald snake icon. The scrolls scattered around the recorded ravings of the trapped mummies that are forgotten. One of them contains the true name of Baltupat. So rather than providing a loot roll, I'm just going to drop here that there's a treat. True name of Baltapat. So that way, because I've gotten, an ancient loot roll, we've got a couple of loot rolls over here, we've got a loot roll over here. We want the loot to be flowing. It's an ancient temple. There's got to be stuff in here, but I also want to change things up so that it's not just random like that. So I'm going to drop a specific treat in this room, which is the true name of Baltapat on some scrolls. All right, got a few more rooms in this upper tomb. So unfinished tomb, it's empty. Okay, it's empty. Clay warrior rooms, group of 18 clay statues of life-size snake men. Each statue is hollow but contains nothing. The statue in the far south of the room sits on a trap door. Okay, so this is again another one where I would come back up here to what I said for, where did I say? Oh yeah, all PCs roll whiz, highest roll discover secret passage. So for this clay room, I'm going to do another case of all the PCs roll highest discover secret passage. I'll do a hard whiz this time. I'm not barring anybody from the back half of the lower, or like entering the lower tomb, or the whatever, but it's going to be hard. So this time it's okay. PCs roll hard whiz, but the highest roll discovers the secret passage. Is there really a difference between a normal whiz roll and a hard whiz roll in this case if I know that this isn't a gate? Not mechanically, but narratively, I can explain it. So like it's harder to find, so the person that does get the highest, especially if it's over the target, really does know their stuff well enough that I can inform that narrative that way. But you could totally just say this is a blanket whiz roll and not care. All right, then coming down to the stairs. Hallways protected by a very ornate door. Faint cold wind blows up. The third stair from the top is slightly loose and has left very faint scratches. If any weight is put on it, the stairs tip to become a smooth stone ramp. Spikes deploy from the floor at the bottom ramp. When the trap is activated, a PC sliding that takes D6 damage, save perhaps. Okay, so this is again, I'm just going to have first PC deck save. And then succeed. Nothing. Fail. Activates the trap. Okay. So I'm just going to PC deck save. If the first PC passes as the deck save, nothing will happen. If the next, and then I'll go to the next one until the first one happens. And then we just have the sliding to D6 damage. So I'm probably going to jump that up to spikes, deal ultimate. Save for half. Okay. Stone Cobra Guardian area, and so we've got our 19. This is a large area, arena-like room, completely covered in shields from tribes conquering. Some of the shields are rotted through, but at least 5 are still usable. Deliberately scraped, assembled. In the center of the room stands the Stone Cobra Guardian. It attacks on sight, but it cannot fit up the stairs. Okay, so let's come down to the Stone Cobra Guardian. All right, this one's a biggie. Stats as an ogre in heavy armor. Okay. So what I can do here is just come over to Master Edition, and I'm going to just find an ogre. And I'm just going to clip this. drop that in for reference. So then if it's just as an ogre, I can write that down. There we go. And then I can even put in 135 for Master Edition, page 135. Each round, the Stone Cobra Guardian can perform one of these 3 attack patterns. Shield draw calls to a shield attached to the wall. The shield deals. The Guardian holds the shield in its empty hand, granting it +1 defense. The shield can be sundered as normal, reducing the income by 1d12 and destroying the shield. And then Leap and Slam, Twin Slash, swipes at 2 targets with his sword. This room is designed for players to flank the Guardian, flee, push it into the chasm, or flee past it and hope it doesn't follow them. And the shields can be used by the PCs as well. Okay, so we've got Spiked Club, Body Slam, and Seismic Hammer, which sounds pretty interesting, but I'll probably end up using like these attacks. So +8 strength, +2, -3 intelligence, 2 actions per turn. Okay. So I'll just say, like for this one, shield draw, and then it just does weapon. We'll just say dex to save / defense to save, or dodge / dodge. And then we'll make it, and so that way, so it's when he uses shield draw, the shield comes flying, everyone takes dex or defense to dodge, and then hard to hit with shield. So it increases the target for a moment. Leap and Slam, leaps into the air, slams down, it will land directly on creatures, and that's the same as Body Slam. So we'll just use Ogre Body Slam for that. That way I don't have to design anything new. And then Twin Slash swipes at 2 targets. The targets must be on the same facing and must be adjacent to the Guardian. That's too complicated for me to remember. Oh, it's on this facing side. It's like, no. Attack all near. So just more of a Twin Slash, more of a spinning slash. And yeah, so just attack all near. And we'll call that good. So then we can use anything from the Ogre for the stats, as well as some details for their specific attack flavor. And then let's come back into, it's over here, I apologize. We got that, and then we finally have the chasm and path. To the north, the path leads, slippery, running, or leaping will require a fairly easy save. Okay, we can do that. Running / leaping equals easy dex. With Peace, Anger, the Fungus Goblins, this path will be there. Okay. And then if you want to add more material, add it there. Okay, we don't have to worry about that. And then finally, we have the Dungeon Barnacles further down the path, which I think is not shown on this map. Dungeon Barnacles, these stone-covered molds devour any warm, bloody creature that passes near them, reaching out with sticky, paralyzing tentacles. Characters that spend time in tunes will recognize them and know to avoid them. They're less like it and more like terrain. So it says that this path is closed. So we'll just say that deal weapon per turn. That way it's like, oh, you get stuck there, you try to enter a pass through, your every turn, which includes, it's not, anytime you say turn versus round, it's a round is, I'll take this damage once every time it comes back around to me, versus every turn is, I'm going to take this damage every time a turn is taken. So I'll take damage on my turn, I'll take damage on the player to my left's turn, I'll take damage on the player to their left's turn, and by the time it comes back around to me, it could be 5 turns, which means 5 times I'm taking this damage. So using rounds and turns can be a very big differentiating point. That is the upper tomb. A little bit more complicated than the false tomb, and that totally makes sense. I'll look forward to finishing out the lower tomb next week, and then we'll look forward to actually planning out a session with this module and how I would run this in the course of a night in the future.